It's been an amazing project to work on. Many challenges, but also fantastic to be able to produce a gallery that's multisensory and that really tries to include as many visitors as possible. Two of the main objectives really with the new gallery were that we should really sort of look at the heritage of Wolverhampton in terms of its sculpture, the teaching of sculpture, and some of the students and tutors and people who have practiced in Wolverhampton, because it has a tremendous range of skills and a tremendous heritage. Wanted to bring a lot of works out from our collection which are by sculptors who have trained, taught or practiced in Wolverhampton. So, but this idea of teaching sculpture is really a core theme, which is represented very much in the Master Sculptors panel, which you can see very prominent on the wall there. Then, quite early on in the project, I wanted to create a link really with the university, and I got in touch with Ben. I wanted to be able to contact Ron and draw on his knowledge and his experience as a sculptor and as a teacher of sculpture over 20 years. Ron was in charge of the sculpture department and head of art at Wolverhampton College and Wolverhampton Polytechnic from about 1964 to 84, is that about right? Yeah. So you've really seen a huge number of changes going on in sculpture in the city. Just Corinne mentioned the sort of the background and to the sort of early days and why Wolverhampton became so well known for its sculpture, which was really started with R.J. Emerson, who came here in 1910 as it was when the art school and the art gallery were actually both together in one building. And R.J. Emerson was the main tutor. He was the second. I can't remember his actual title. He was one of the main tutors, and he taught sculpture. He was a tremendous sculptor himself, but he was very, very inspiring, and his legacy really has continued because he taught people who went on to teach all around the UK, particularly traditional skills in sculpture, stone carving, modelling, casting, and that seems to have sort of run through and you can sort of pick up that sort of resonance even today in and in fact there is a connection between both Ron and Ben back through to R.J. Emerson. Ron was taught in Newcastle by Geoffrey Dudley, wasn't it? Geoffrey Dudley, who had been taught by Emerson actually, directly by Emerson. And in Ben's case, you were taught by Glyn Williams at the Royal College of Art, who had been taught. There were various steps, but yes, it traced its way back again to R.J. Emerson, and these influences have actually come through to both of yourselves. So I really want to sort of come from that actually to talk to you, Ron, about your experience of studying sculpture in Newcastle and your connection with Geoffrey Dudley. And he actually partly influenced your decision to come and work here, I believe, because that was your...
Yes. The period that I'll be covering is that following school and 2 years before the mast in the Royal Navy, I went to Newcastle upon Tyne it was then King's College, the Arts College of teaching art was still very much working from the figure and using materials such as straightforward painting, drawing, modelling and carving and so on, But there was a time of change taking place at Newcastle. It was very much led by Victor Passmore, who was one of the tutors there, who became one of the most prominent abstract artists in the 20th century, and Richard Hamilton, very much involved with the development of pop art. I graduated and came eventually, after Sunderland College of Art, to Wolverhampton. And it was a time still of momentous change when the character and nature of the courses were changing from the old tradition and embracing new ideas, new concepts, new attitudes. And at that point, Wolverhampton were striving to gain the new diploma in art and design, which we managed due to the good efforts of people like Roy Kitchen and John Paddison, who were already at the college when I came. And with sculptors of that character and personality, it ensured that there was a bedrock of traditional sculpture crafts existing in the college. And yet at the same time, there was a spirit of inquiry, a spirit of openness, and a spirit of encouraging some of the more, I would say, way out uses of material, experiment. And again, we're fortunate in this much that we have Vaughan Grills with us now, who certainly use new materials as though there was a bottomless pit, and experiment, and one of his wonderful sculptures, the Drunken Vicar, is on show there. But again, this was the point where it was being bridged from ensuring that the traditional craft approach, as it were, was going, and open to new ideas. And of course, knowing the tradition of Wolverhampton, at times one could almost feel that it was something that was pressing you down, because you had these names to respect. But I think we fought through it. We developed an exciting course, and a number of the students have gone on to develop their careers in different ways, which really, in a sense, when I retired, it was still developing, and we were delighted, as it were, when someone of Ben came along to carry on the process.
When I was appointed in 2008, which isn't very long ago, one of the reasons why I felt that I wanted to work at Wolverhampton was because of the really wonderful range of technical resources, the material resources, which there are still in the building. And in particular, the foundry, which I believe you pushed to have built when you were appointed in 1964 to teach sculpture. I'm particularly interested in bronze casting, and your foundry is still there, and it's still being used. So there's a direct connection there between your material interests and the ongoing life pedagogy of the school. I think it's already been mentioned that by myself and also by Carol, that the Municipal Art School used to be in this building, and now of course it's the neon-clad brutalist structure just over the ring road. And it'll be easy for you to look around the exhibition to see the very many links that there are between this collection and the art gallery and the university. And some of those have already been gone over, and at the risk of this becoming something of a parlour game like 6 Degrees of Separation, in which we could demonstrate exactly how tightly networked everybody is through the history of having been taught by different people, there are nevertheless some connections that I want to tease out a little bit further. And I want to begin with the two current sculptors of the university, Judith Woods and Adam Bryce, who you can hear in conversation on the audio interpretation points around the room. As current students, they're taught by Rosemary Terry, who is a senior lecturer in sculpture at the university. and she was appointed, I believe, towards the end of Vaughan Grill's tenure as Dean of School. Vaughan Grills has, of course, got the first guest sculpture in that area over there, and I believe that, very fittingly, Rosemary Terry will be the subsequent artist to have work on display. There are, of course, other strands of separation to dwell on, and for Judith and Adam are also, of course, taught by me. And as Ron, I think it was Ron, or it may have been you, said, I was taught by Glyn Williams at the Royal College, but I was also taught by another alumnus, Cornelia Parker, at Chelsea, whom I believe you taught. So there's
Incest.
yes, another strong connection there. Of course, John Paddison and Roy Kitchen were very prominent figures in the art school at the time when you would have been working, and they both taught, I think, Vaughan, who'll correct me if I'm wrong, and also Glyn. And John Paddison himself studied at Wolverhampton, arriving as a student in 1949. And you'll see how easy it is then to go from that point to connect all of the degrees of separation, to go all the way from Judith and Adam back to Emerson and Wheeler. So that's quite a long chronology to span, and time is probably a quality that we're running out of, so as I carry on, because one could chart in these various connections, but before I finish, I want to comment how gratifying it is to see work by very recent alumni in the gallery, particularly George Clark Roden's sculpture over there, the interactive sculpture over there, and also Trevor Clark's letter cut sign just on the right as you go in, which I feel in many ways embodies that legacy of stone that John Paddison was responsible for continuing at the university. And just to embarrass her a little bit further, I'm going to go back to Judith Woods, who is currently working on a sculpture to celebrate the 21st anniversary of the incorporation of the university, which works in bronze and in stone, and therefore I feel combines Ron's legacy of bronze with John's legacy of stone. And the reason why I think that that's such a nice combination is because it reminds us that the Municipal Art School really is the most venerable part of the university. And that's something that I would like us to reflect on in this anniversary year for the university. So perhaps I could conclude that it's been a real pleasure and a privilege to be involved in this project, and I'm really thrilled to see so many connections between the art gallery and the university continuing. And I would have thought that that's something that
I would absolutely echo.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Ron and Ben. That's sort of rounded things up really, really nicely. I mean, you can see around the gallery works by almost all those artists we've mentioned. I would say 90% of the works in the gallery are by sculptors who have a connection with Wolverhampton. So just enjoy what's here and, you know, experience it in your own way. Thank you very much, Ron and Ben.
Thank you.
Care projects.